why can't God get rid of the devil? Just because we did not do anything. What have we done?
I think on
What have we done which is wrong? What have we done which is wrong? Why can't he just deal with the devil and leave us alone? I'm asking you this question because people want to know.
What have we done? In the same way that the devil rejected, rebelled, and tried to replace God, we have rejected, rebelled, and tried to replace God with everything and everyone else in this world. If God got rid of the devil for his rejection and his rebellion and his replacement, then God would have to get rid of us in the same way for the same reasons. This attitude of asking God to leave us alone is a rejection of him. It's rebellion against him. It's trying to replace him with something or someone else. God has been pretty consistent when it comes to how he deals and how he has dealt with people who reject him and rebel against him and replace him. He has dealt with the devil. The devil is a lion in a cage. Don't give him more credit than he deserves. The devil could only deceive Eve, but couldn't force her to eat any fruit. The devil had to ask for permission to impact the life of a righteous man like Job. The devil prowls around like a roaring lion, a lion that can only roar and only impact you if you get in the cage with him. The Bible makes it clear that if you resist the devil, if you submit yourself to God and resist the devil, then he will flee from you. The devil is not in control. As we tell God to leave us alone, he has left some people alone to deal with the devil on their own. In the same way that Adam blamed Eve and Eve blamed the devil, we blame God, we blame the devil, we blame everything and everyone else. But notice that God dealt with Adam and Eve and the devil for their own rejection and rebellion and replacement of him. And that's why the solution is to submit yourself to God and resist the devil. Stay out of his cage. Stay out of the range of the leash that he's been put on. We can't blame everything on the devil when we do exactly what the devil has done. When we reject God or rebel against God or try to replace God with something or someone more important than him to us. Here's what 2 Peter chapter 2 says. And I encourage you, please read the whole chapter. Because at the beginning of the chapter, he talks about false prophets and the messages that they're going to spread to lead people astray. And then in 2 Peter, starting in verse 4, he writes this. For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to pits of darkness reserved for judgment. Notice God has dealt with these fallen angels. He has dealt with the devil, put him on a leash, put him in a cage, permitted him to impact, test, and tempt us so that we could demonstrate our choice for him over the devil. But the devil is not in charge. God is still in charge. He did spare those who did not reject him, who did not rebel against him, and who did not try to replace him. I think the historical example is 1/3 of the angels fell. But keep in mind that 2/3 of the angels who submitted to God stayed to serve God. In verse 5, he says, and did not spare the ancient world, but preserved Noah, a preacher of righteousness, with 7 others when he brought a flood upon the world of the ungodly. He did not spare the world that rebelled against him, but he spared Noah for his righteousness and his respect for God. In verse 6, and if he condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to destruction by reducing them to ashes, having made them an example to those who would live ungodly lives thereafter. And if he rescued righteous Lot, oppressed by the sensual conduct of unprincipled men, for by what he saw and heard that righteous man, while living among them, felt his righteous soul tormented day after day by their lawless deed. God did not spare Sodom and Gomorrah, but he did spare that righteous man, Lot. You see the pattern. God knows how to spare those who respect him. and who try to live righteous lives for him. But he deals with those who reject and rebel and try to replace him. In the same way he dealt with the devil, in the same way he deals with us. Notice what verse 9 says. Then the Lord knows how to rescue the godly from temptation and to keep the unrighteous under punishment for the day of judgment, and especially those who indulge in the flesh and its corrupt desires and despise authority. The people who rebel, reject, and try to replace the authority that God has, and then blame him. And even though we tell God to leave us alone, we also blame him when he leaves us alone for all of the mess that comes to our life. Believe me, God knows how to deal with those who reject and rebel and try to replace him. He does not need our advice. Don't mistake the time and the chances that he gives us or the devil for him not dealing with these things. Respect him and learn from these examples. I thank God that he didn't leave us alone, that he has given us commands, choices, and he's given us so many chances to respectfully come to him. And I'm also glad that he has dealt and will deal with the devil. He will also deal with everyone else who rejects and rebels and tries to replace him like the devil did.